بالتعاون مع المندوبية الجهوية للتربية بتطاوين، إذاعة تطاوين تقدم إذاعة الباكالوريا. إذاعة الباكالوريا اليوم مادة الأنقليزية مع الأستاذة بوناب.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the English edition of Tataouine radio program for BAC students. I am Bوناب, a teacher of English in Tataouine. Unfortunately, we won't be having any guests today due to the coronavirus, but I hope our students can still enjoy and benefit from our session today. Today, we are going to deal with the BAC exam of 2019 for our students. It's the one for the retake session, mostly known as the session de contrôle. Due to the lack of time, we will be dealing with the reading comprehension in the first part of the session today and the writing in the second part. The English exam is worth 40 points and it is divided into the reading comprehension, of course, the language, and the writing. So you have 15 points for the reading comprehension. And before reading the text and before reading you the questions, I want you to take into consideration that we have two types of questions. The first type deals with the overall idea of the text, so with the gist of the text. And the second part of the questions, or the second type of the question, is for the details. So you wonder, how many times do I have to read the text? What should I read first, the questions or the text? Well, my advice to you is that you read the text first so that you just get the main idea of the text, right? And then you move on to reading the questions. Now that you've read the questions, you are more guided into looking for the information that you need to answer these questions, right? Of course, you don't have to read the text twice. You can read it as many times as you need, but bear in mind the time frame that you have. So let's say you started reading the text and then you came across unknown words, to avoid saying difficult words. But let me tell you that you don't have to understand every word in the text to get the main idea, right? You try to guess the meaning of certain words from context if they are important to getting that idea from the text. So of course, we don't focus on everything. We only focus on important information. So I'm going to start with reading the text, and then we will deal with the reading comprehension questions together. Now, if you have the exam in front of you, that would be helpful. If not, that's okay. I will be reading slowly for you so that you can follow with me. All right? Okay, paragraph number 1. Under a bridge in Shoreditch, Josh Coombs is kneeling on a busy footpath as he cuts the hair of a young man called Jason. As the pair chat away and cuttings drop to the floor, people file past and gaze at them with intrigue. Josh and Jason met just 5 minutes ago, around the corner outside a newsagent. Jason is homeless and lives on the streets of East London. For the past 2 years, Josh has been wandering around the city and offering free haircuts to people just like Jason. Paragraph 2. It all came from a state of feeling quite helpless about the situation of the homeless and how apparent it is in every city I visited, says 30-year-old Josh, who lives in South London and has been working as a hairdresser for 5 years. I knew I couldn't solve it, so how else could I begin to help? Paragraph 3. He began carrying his hairdressing equipment in his rucksack rather than leaving it at the salon. On his days off, or when coming home from work, he would get talking to anyone he saw living on the street and offer them a free haircut. Having access to the same amenities as us is not on their agenda, so trying to help them feel more dignified and confident is a big part of it. Paragraph 4. At first, it might seem rather trivial to offer those in abject poverty a haircut, but then, as the interactions play out, you realize it isn't really about the haircut at all. In the time he spent with Jason, Josh was able to learn the story of how he ended up on the streets. They talked about his problems and plans and even had a laugh. When someone is literally cutting your hair, you have to drop your defenses, says Josh. Paragraph 5. For Jason, a sudden loss of housing was all that it took to send his life spiraling. What was supposed to be a stopgap on the street has turned into 6 months. It's easy to blame it on the person and hide the real reasons, but that is such a cop-out for society, says Josh. The end of the text, and it is adapted from youdou.com. So now that we have read the text once, we can identify the main idea of the text, or we can get the gist of the text, right? And that is actually asked in the first question. Tick the most appropriate option. So the first question is a typical question that we would have in an English exam. Usually we would ask you about the title of the text or the main idea. Of course, the title would give you the main idea of the text. So basically we are asking you the same thing. So let me read the question for you. Tick the most appropriate option. The text is mainly about a man who. Now here we're not asking you about the title of the text. We're asking you about the main idea. And mind you, when you are answering such a question, bear in mind that you are giving the main idea of the whole text, not just certain paragraphs, right? So let's take a look at option A. A man who struggled to provide the homeless with shelter. B. Dedicated all his time to cutting the homeless people's hair. Or C. Volunteered to help the homeless regain their dignity. Now let's take a look at option A. A man who struggled to provide the homeless with shelter. Now, I think you would be familiar with all the words in this option. And the key word here is the word shelter, which is housing or a safe place where this homeless person can stay. So this statement is irrelevant because Josh is not providing these homeless people with shelter. The text doesn't even mention the word shelter or housing. So we can eliminate this option quite easily. For option B though, dedicated all his time to cutting the homeless people's hair. Well, this is what Josh has done. This is true. But one detail in this statement that makes it false, right? So the word is all his time. Now, Josh in the text did not devote all his time. If you have listened carefully to me reading the text, you would have noticed that Josh only does this on his days off or when coming home from work. So this option is also not true, or it's not the right answer. Moving on to option C. The text is mainly about a man who volunteered to help the homeless regain their dignity. Volunteered, which means that he's done it for free. No one asked him to do it. So yes, this is the situation of Josh to help the homeless regain their dignity. Yes, dignity or self-confidence or worth. So yeah, this is what Josh did to the homeless people he met on the streets. So by eliminating the first two statements, you can pick the third one without understanding every word. Maybe the word dignity is unknown to you, or maybe you don't understand the word volunteer. Still, you can answer by seeing which ones are relevant, which ones are true. So take your time in such a question and make sure to read every detail in each statement. So now we're done with the first type of questions, the ones that deal with the idea of the text, the gist of the text. Now we are going to look for details. Now we are going to scan the text. You're not going to read the text again each time you move on to the next question. You are going to just go for that specific sentence or specific paragraph where you can find the information or the answer easily. So let me read the instruction of the second question. For each of the following statements, pick out one detail from the text showing that it is false. Again, this is a typical question whether in the back exam or in your regular exam. So these statements are false. Please don't write true or false. We're not asking you for that. You are asked to pick out one detail. Again, one detail, not a paragraph, not 3 or 4 sentences, just one short detail. Right? So they are false. We are going to pick justifications from the text. Make them short and relevant. And again, they have to be from the text. You don't have to paraphrase. You don't have to summarize. The instruction is clear. So let's deal with the first statement. Statement A. Passengers by have shown no interest in Josh's altruistic act. Paragraph 1. So here it's easier. You are guided to check the answer in paragraph 1. You don't have to read the whole text again. You don't have to waste your time. So, passengers by have shown no interest in Josh's altruistic act. If we scan the first paragraph and we look for information about people, about the looks of people, you would find that in line 2 and line 3. Let me read for you from the text. People file past and gaze at them with intrigue. This means that people passing by were looking at them, were gazing at them. So this justifies that passengers by have shown interest in Josh's altruistic act, right? This makes it false. Now with intrigue, you wonder what's the meaning of intrigue. Maybe it is a new word for you. Now they were looking with curiosity or fascination, which means they were interested in this act. So what we did here is that we tried to look for words mentioned in the statement. Let's try again with statement B. Josh selected the people to whom he would offer free haircuts. Select. You know the meaning of selected? He chose the people. Right. So this is false, obviously. So paragraph 3, let's pick out a detail showing that he didn't choose anyone. In paragraph 3, line number 2, he would get talking to anyone. You see the word here, anyone? This shows us that he didn't choose. That anyone he met that seemed like he needed help, he would help him, right? So the right answer would be, he would get talking to anyone he saw living on the street and offer them a free haircut. Now we would need the whole sentence that I just read, because if you just mention the first part of the sentence, he would get talking to anyone, you're not giving us the whole idea of the sentence. So it is mandatory to finish it, right? So this detail is quite long, but we need every word and every bit of it to deliver the full idea. Now let's check with statement C. Josh did not care about Jason's private life. This is false, of course. And the answer is in paragraph 4, as mentioned in the exam. So before checking paragraph 4, you need to understand the statement, of course. And here we're trying to convey that Jason's interaction with Josh, or Josh's interaction with Jason, was only on a superficial level, in a way. They didn't talk, that he didn't know his private life, they didn't ask him any friendly questions. It was just about cutting hair. And when you read paragraph 4, you get that they talked, and they talked a lot, and they even laughed. So let me just show you some details in paragraph 4 that you can use to answer, because there are two possible justifications to this statement. Now, Josh was able to learn the story of how he ended up on the streets. Now, this is private, so we can use this as a justification to show that the statement is false. Another one is the one following it. They talked about his problems and plans. And of course, when you talk about your problems and plans, you are talking about your private life. So both of these statements show that Josh cared about Jason's private life, and they talked about it, right? So you see what I'm doing here with each sentence? I try to understand the idea. I scan the paragraph for that idea that I just built in my mind, and I try to limit the justification. The last example, Jason expected his homelessness to last for a long time. So Jason, the homeless man that Josh was helping, expected his homelessness to last for a long time. So he knew that he would be homeless for a long time. Of course, again, this is false. So he didn't know, or he didn't expect that he would be homeless. So the statement that we are looking for in paragraph 5 would be, what was supposed to be a stopgap on the streets has turned into 6 months. Now, 6 months is a long time, so that could be a hint to make it easier for you to find the answer. So what was supposed to be a stopgap on the street has turned into 6 months, right? So in order to answer such a question, you need to make that link between the statements given to you and the statements in the text. Another note that I want to give about this type of tasks is that you shouldn't make it long and you shouldn't omit important details. So before writing down your answer, make sure all the words that you are copying from the text are important to convey the meaning. Now, enough with task 2, moving on to task 3. And task 3 is a piece of cake, if you ask me. Because you're not going to pick any details, you are just going to check whether you understood certain details quite well. The instruction says, tick 2 adjectives that best apply to Jason. Now, let me remind you, Jason is the homeless man that Josh gave a free haircut to. Now, keep in mind, Josh is homeless. He doesn't have a house. What adjectives can we use to describe Jason? A, envious. B, pitiful. C, valiant. D, miserable. Now, you're supposed to be familiar with all these adjectives, but I'm going to explain them to make it simpler for our listeners. Now, option A, envious. To envy someone for something is when you are jealous of them, when you are feeling a little bit bitter. You want what they have. Now, in the text, they don't talk about Jason being jealous of Josh or of people who are a little bit well off. So this one is quite irrelevant. So let's move on to B, pitiful. Okay, so someone who's pitiful is someone who's arousing pity, someone that you pity, you feel sorry for. You feel sorry for Jason for not having a house, for not having a proper life, right? Yeah, so we can tick this answer easily without thinking too much. Now moving on to option C, valiant. Someone who's valiant is someone who's brave, courageous. Now, in the text, we don't talk about Jason's bravery. We don't talk much about any adventure or any act that he did that shows us that he's brave. So, yeah, that's not mentioned in the text, so it's irrelevant. Option D now, the last one, miserable. Of course, we all know the meaning of miserable. So, yeah, again, Jason is miserable for being homeless, for not having a house, for not having a steady life. So, you see, as I've said earlier, this task is quite easy. You can easily mark 2 points and move on to the next one. Now, the next one, task 4. Focus on paragraph 1 and 2 and complete the following table about Josh. Now, here we have a table about the age and the facts. He started working as a hairdresser. He started offering free haircuts. Now we're talking about the age of Josh. And we have to focus on paragraph 1 and 2. So in paragraph 1 and 2, we don't have any information or any direct mention to the age of Josh when he started working as a hairdresser or when he started offering free haircuts. However, in paragraph 2, we have the age of Josh mentioned in line number 2. Says 30-year-old Josh. So Josh is 30. Okay. Now we have that information. We have to ask ourselves, when did he start working as a hairdresser? Now, if you scan paragraph number 2, you find in the last line that he has been working as a hairdresser for 5 years, which means that 5 years ago he started, which makes him 25 years old when he started working. You see, you just have to make a simple math equation right there. The same thing goes with when he started offering free haircuts. Let's go back to paragraph number 1. Offering free haircuts is mentioned as an expression, It's mentioned in paragraph number 1. So as I said earlier, and I keep saying again and again and again, so make sure you just scan the text for the information or the items that you have in the task, and you will find them right there, and you could use them to facilitate answering the question. So offering free haircut to people just like Jason. It's in the last line again of paragraph number 1. if we go back to the beginning of that sentence, for the last 2 years, Josh has been wandering around the city and offering free haircuts to people just like Jason. So, for the last 2 years, which means that he started offering free haircuts 2 years ago. Simple math here, 28. So he started offering free haircuts when he was 28 years old. So you see, sometimes the answer is not directly mentioned in the text. You have to look for hints that would help you, and you have to formulate your own answer. Now let's move on to task 5. Now in task 5, you're asked to tick the most appropriate option, and it's giving you certain statements mentioned in the text and giving you 3 options to choose from. And these options, of course, they give you the meaning of these expressions. So whenever you have such a task, usually these words are unknown or a little bit difficult for you. So you have to go back to the text and try to understand these expressions or these words from the context, right? So let's try with statement A. Is not on their agenda nearly means the same as. The last line. Having access to the same amenities as us is not on their agenda. Now, what could the word agenda mean? Top priority, one of their responsibilities, something they like. Here we're talking about the haircut. It's not on their agenda. It's not their top priority. It's not one of their responsibilities. It is something they like. Of course, the first one is the right answer. Now, to understand these expressions, you have to go back to the text. And it is not on their agenda is mentioned in paragraph 3. Let's go back to the paragraph 3 together and try to find this expression that we're looking for. Right, so let's just try to read a little bit before the expression is mentioned so that we can get a clearer idea. Okay, so I read. He would get talking to anyone he saw living on the street and offer them a free haircut. Having access to the same amenities as us is not on their agenda. Okay, amenities. And by amenities here, we're talking about the haircuts. Okay. So for these people, on their agenda, what's agenda? A, their top priority. B, one of their responsibilities. C, something they like. So of course, the haircut is not a responsibility. It's not something whether they like or not. So option A is the answer. You see, you have to find or not find really, but guess the meaning of this expression from the context, right? So let's try again with statement B. You have to drop your defenses. Paragraph 4. At the end of the paragraph, we have, when someone is literally cutting your hair, you have to drop your defenses. Drop your defenses. It means A, very anxious. B, an easy target. C, quite relaxed. So of course, when someone is cutting your hair, you need to be relaxed, right? You're not anxious. And you don't feel like a target. You don't feel threatened. You're just relaxed. You're just trying to enjoy that feeling. Okay. Let's move on to C. That is such a cop-out for society. Nearly means the same as A, an excuse. B, an asset. C, a benefit. A cop-out. It's in paragraph number 5. And I read, it's easy to blame it on the person and hide the real reasons, but that is such a cop-out for society. Okay, this has a negative connotation to it. So let's go back to our options. An excuse, an asset, a benefit. Now, if you are familiar with these words, you would get that an asset and a benefit, they are similar in meaning. They're not actually synonyms, but in this context, they could have the same meaning, nearly the same meaning, yes, to each other. So they both mean an advantage or something that's beneficial. In this sentence, we're not really talking about something that's beneficial or advantages. So we are left with only one option, which is an excuse. An excuse or a pretext. So it's easy to blame it on the person and hide the real reasons, but that is such an excuse for society. So yeah, it makes sense if you read the sentence in that way. If you try to replace the option that you have in the exam with the word that you have in the text, and if it makes sense, that's the right answer right there. So again, what I'm trying to say is that when you are trying to answer such a question, you have to go back to the text and find out the context where the expression was mentioned, and you try to eliminate the options that are irrelevant and keep the ones that are relevant, and maybe replace the word that you have, the option that you have in the exam with the word that you have in the text, or maybe try to find the tone of the author when mentioned in that expressions. So these tips or these tricks can help you answer such a question. But the most important thing is that you have to go back to the text. I don't have to keep mentioning this, but you don't have to waste so much time on reading the whole text again and again. You go straight to that paragraph and you find the detail that you are looking for. Okay? Now moving on to task 6 of the reading comprehension. Yes. Task 6. The instruction says, what do the underlined words in the text refer to? It in paragraph 2 and he in paragraph 4. Let's start by it in paragraph 2. We can't answer such a question without going back to paragraph number 2 and trying to scan and to find it, the word it, I mean, and then try to maybe read the whole paragraph. It's not that long, to know what exactly we are talking about. Now, let me start by reading. It all came from a state of feeling quite helpless about the situation of the homeless and how apparent it is in every city I visited, says 30-year-old Josh, who lived in South London and has been working as a hairdresser for 5 years. I knew I couldn't solve it, so how else could I begin to help? Solve it. So here we're talking about a problem. What problem is mentioned in this paragraph? It all came from a state of feeling quite helpless about the situation of the homeless and how apparent it is in every city. So the only problem that's mentioned in this paragraph is the situation of the homeless. So this is what the author refers to when he uses it. I knew I couldn't solve it. He couldn't solve the situation of the homeless. He couldn't help. Let's do the same thing with the next item. He in paragraph 4 refers to he. So here we're not referring to an object. We're not referring to an animal. Of course, we're talking about a man. Now he here. In the text, we're talking about Josh and Jason. So maybe one of them is the one that we refer to here in paragraph 4. Maybe, I don't know. Let's go back to paragraph 4. So at first, it might seem rather trivial to offer those in abject poverty a haircut. But then as the interactions play out, you realize it isn't really about the haircut at all. In the time he spent with Jason, Josh was able to learn the story of how he ended up on the streets. Josh was able to learn the story of how he ended up on the streets. And you know, when you end up on the streets, it means that you live in the streets. You don't have a house. And who's homeless here? Of course, it's Jason. So here in paragraph 4 refers to Jason. So by easily going back to the sentence and try to identify the relationship between the characters or maybe the characteristics of each character, you can answer the question. The most important thing, you don't guess. You have to go back to the paragraph mentioned in the exam sheet, of course. Moving on to the last task of the reading comprehension. Give a justified personal answer to the following question. Do you think Jason is responsible for his social situation? Why or why not? Now here you are going to give your own opinion. You don't have to copy anything from the text. You don't have to give any justification from the text. This is you. What do you think? Now in the exam, they are helping you a little bit. They started the sentence and they give you other hints in the middle. So you only have to mention your opinion. So let me read. I think Jason is. And here, you have to give your opinion. Do you think he is responsible or not responsible? So a possible answer would be, I think Jason is responsible for his social situation. Or, I think Jason is not responsible for his social situation. So, because the question is a yes or no question, you have to use either the affirmative form or the negative form, and that's it. You don't have to use other expressions. You keep it as simple as that, right? Okay. Now, if you answer as such, you only cover the first part of the task. Now, the second part asks why or why not. And again, in the exam sheet, they are making it easy for you by writing because. So you have to give a reason for your opinion. Why do you think that way? And because this is a personal opinion, you can write whatever you want, and as long as it is logical, as long as it makes sense, even if I don't agree with you, even if I think that your reason is weak, we can still consider that a right or a correct answer. That would be all for our reading comprehension today. I hope you learned how to answer such a questions. My objective today was not to give you the answers, but rather to teach you how to answer and how to read the text and how to scan the text for the exact details that you need to get the right answer. Now, before moving on to the second part of our session today, dealing with writing, we are going to have a musical break, and we will be back. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us again. In the first part of our session today, we dealt with the reading comprehension of the back exam retake session of 2019 for arts students. In the second part now, we're moving to the writing task of the exam. Now, in the national exam, you have two writing tasks. The first one is a guided writing task, and the second one is a free writing task. Now, in the guided writing, you have prompt that you are going to use to make a paragraph. Now, in our example today, we have a table. Now, let me read the instruction for you. Use the notes in the table below to write a 5-line paragraph about IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. Type: Intergovernmental Organization. Foundation: Bonn, Germany, January 26, 2009. Members: more than 176 states. Aims: 1. Promote widespread use, all forms, renewable clean energy. 2. Help countries achieve renewable energy potential. 3. Provide advice, policy, energy planning. So these are all the information provided in the table. But before we start dealing with the task itself, how we deal with such tasks as teachers. So you have 2 points for adherence to task and effective use of the prompts, and 3 marks for the language. The second part that I need to mention to you is that you have to use all the information provided. You do not add any extra because you are not asked to, and you do not omit any information, or else you will lose some points. Okay? Now, let's start with this task. IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency. So you would start with the name of this agency. Start by writing the name, and then you start defining it. The first aspect that we are going to describe is the type. You can directly say IRENA is the International Renewable Energy Agency, and it is an intergovernmental organization. That way, you have described the type of this agency. Or you could use that word given to you and say its type is an intergovernmental organization. Full stop. That's it. That's all that's asked of you at this point. Now, in the second aspect, foundation. By foundation, we mean the creation of this agency. If we were talking about a person, we would talk about his birth, place and time of birth. But here it is an agency, an object, so we talk about its creation and its foundation. We could say it was founded. We use the passive voice because it was founded by someone. It's not the doer of the action. So here we use the passive voice, and we use the simple past because it was done in 2009. So it was founded in Bonn, Germany. In plus place, as we all know. And Bonn and Germany are separated by a comma. So it was founded in Bonn, Germany, January 26th, 2009. Usually students use in for dates, but that's a big mistake because when you have a full date, when you have the day, we would use on. But if we were talking about January 2009, we would use in. For example, it was founded in Bonn, Germany in January 2009. But here we have a full date, so it was founded in Bonn, Germany on January 26th, 2009. Right? Moving on now to the members. You can write it has or it includes more than 176 states. Or, if you don't know the suitable verb here to use, you can say its members are more than 176 states, just like we used with the type. We could say its type is, its members are, right? And the last aspect is the aims. And aims are the objectives. So to talk about aims, you could simply say it aims to promote, etc., etc., etc. Right? Or we could say its objectives are. So it depends on whether or not you know the verb to aim, and whether or not you know how to use it, or even if you know how to use both, it depends on your choice. So both are accepted. So let's go with the verb to aim. So it aims, or Irina aims. It aims at promoting the widespread use of all forms of renewable clean energy. Now you see what I did here? All I did was link between the prompts given to me. I did not change the order. I did not add any more information. I just linked between them. Second aim, we can use a linker to make my paragraph more. I could use also to make my writing more smooth. Also, it aims to help countries achieve their renewable energy potential. And here we use their, which refers to the countries. And lastly, we can even write the word lastly. One of its objectives is to provide advice on policies of energy planning. You see, there are many possibilities, many ways that you can link these pieces of information using just prepositions and linkers and using the right verbs and pronouns, right? So as simple as that. I did not add more information that's not written in the task. I did not omit any item mentioned also. So you could easily score 5 out of 5 on this task. So make sure that you write short sentences and you write the correct pronouns and that you avoid repetition, etc., etc. So that's all with the guided writing task actually. Now moving on to the free writing. Free writing is worth 10 points, not just 5 like the first one. And you have a topic, and that's all. Unlike the first task, you don't get any guidance. You are free to write any idea as long as it is relevant to the topic. Before reading the topic, I want to draw your attention to how you would read the topic. You have to think of the key words in your topic. You have to ask yourself 3 questions. What, who, and why? What am I writing? What is asked of me to write? Am I writing a letter, an email, an article, or speech? The second question is who? Who is my audience? Who am I writing to? Who is the receiver of my writing? And the last question is why? Why am I writing? What is my objective? What's my aim? Okay, so bear those 3 questions in your mind while I'm reading the topic for you. Thanks to your English teacher's advice and ongoing support, you finally managed to quit smoking. Write him or her a 12-line letter to express your gratitude and describe how your health has improved and your life has changed for the better. Do not write your name. So, let's answer the questions that I mentioned earlier. What are we writing here? You are asked to write a 12-line letter. Who is your audience? Who are you writing this letter to? Write him or her. Your English teacher. Okay, and the last question. Why? Why are you writing to your English teacher a letter? To express your gratitude, to describe how your health has improved, and how your life has changed for the better. So here you have 3 parts to your objective. Okay? So here they made it a lot easier for you to plan your writing. Which brings me to my second point here. Your plan. So earlier on we talked about the first part, which is reading the topic, identifying the keywords, and answering these 3 questions to know what you are writing and to whom and why. And the second part now is planning your writing. You don't just start writing your first draft, but rather you just take some time to make a plan, right? Let's just imagine now you are in the exam and you have a white draft in front of you. You are going to make a plan. Write the name of the teacher, for example. Write anything that would stimulate your brain into brainstorming ideas, right? And draw 3 arrows for 3 different ideas. Now, whenever you're writing, whether it is a letter, an email, an article, a speech to be given, you have to give at least 3 ideas. If you give more than 3 ideas, it is acceptable, but you risk making more mistakes, so that's not really that good for you. And if you give less than 3 ideas, your essay is incomplete. So in the topic, they have given me 3 tasks, so I can just write them as my main ideas. So in front of those 3 arrows, you write gratitude or expressing gratitude. In the second one, describe how your health has improved. And in the third one, you write how your life has changed. As simple as that. Now that you have your ideas, you have to expand on them. You have to explain them and you give examples. Now we are going to explain expressing gratitude. How do you express gratitude to someone? Expressing gratitude is when you are thankful. Gratitude is a thankful appreciation for what someone has done for you. Examples of expressions of gratitude. I am thankful from the bottom of my heart. Or I am indebted to you. I owe you. Both of them mean the same thing, which is that you are so grateful to this person that you want to repay them somehow. Another expression. To say thank you is not enough. Or I can't thank you enough. Or I appreciate what you've done for me. Another option. What you've done means a lot to me. Thank you for being there for me. And the last possible expression of gratitude. I want to thank you for all the support and concern. So all these expressions you can use to express your gratitude to your teacher or actually to anyone who has done something for you. And the second idea, you are going to describe how your health has improved. For example, this teacher has advised you to sleep better and to eat healthy and to stress less. So now maybe you have a healthy sleep schedule. You get enough sleep, so you have a high energy level. You're not stressed, so everything feels fine. You eat healthy, so your stomach feels fine. Your eyes are healthier. All of these are explanations and examples that you can mention. You can be free, you can be more creative and include more information as long as you stick to the idea that you mentioned in the beginning, which is your health has improved. And the last idea, your life has changed for the better. Now you are going to describe how your life is improved. For example, your relationship with your friends is better. Your relationship with your parents and your brothers and your sister and all your family. Maybe now you are more positive. Maybe now you have more opportunities since you improved yourself. So all of these are just suggestions that you can mention. So the options are not limited. So what I'm trying to say from the beginning is that you don't have to be limited in your ideas. You can think outside the box and bring something that's unexpected. What matters most is that you give 3 ideas. You give explanation for each one of them. You can even give examples. And that's it. That's all that I write in my plan. After making my plan, what do? I need to link between my ideas. I need to link between the sentences that I'm going to write in each part of my letter, right? So let's say I wrote that I want to express my gratitude. Let's just say you started by saying, I'm thankful from the bottom of my heart. You have to explain. But in order to explain, you need to introduce some linkers to make it easier for your reader to know that you are explaining. You're not introducing another idea. And to explain, you can use in fact, actually, in other words. I'm going to give you an example. I can't thank you enough. Actually, I owe you more than the help that you have given me. I owe you my life. I owe you my future. I owe you my success. You see? Here I explained why I'm thankful to this person, or how much I am thankful to this person. You can give examples, as I said earlier, but in order to show that you are giving an example, again, you need a linker. Now, linkers to give examples are simple. You could say, for example, such as, and like. Make sure that when you write, for example, you write the English spelling, E-X-A-M-P-L-E, and not the French spelling with an E. Be careful. Now that you have your 3 ideas with the explanation and the examples, you need to give an introduction and a conclusion to your body. So since this is a letter, you need to write specific things in your introduction. You need to greet the person. You need to state the objective of your letter. Greeting, saying hello, how are you? I hope everything is fine. I hope you're doing great. I miss you so much. This is your teacher. You can write whatever you want as long as you're being polite and respectful. An example, dear teacher, hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well. It's been a long time since I last saw you. So that's your greeting. That's it. And the second part of your introduction is stating your objective. You need to tell your teacher why are you writing them. You could use a simple sentence, I am writing this letter to. Okay? So why are we writing this letter? To express our gratitude. So, I am writing this letter to express my gratitude. Or, I am writing this letter to tell you how thankful I am for you or for your help. I'm writing this letter to thank you for everything that you have done for me. I'm writing this letter to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you have done for me. Or you could keep that for the body and just say, I'm writing this letter to thank you for everything. And that's it. Here, now you have your introduction. And in the conclusion, again, since this is a letter, you have to conclude your letter with a greeting and best wishes. An example could be, I am looking forward to hearing from you, or I hope that you are happy to read my letter, or even you could ask them to write back. So you can be creative with your closing line, and at the end say, I wish you well, best wishes, hope to hear from you soon, looking forward to hear from you, goodbye, or you don't even have to write the word goodbye. Yours sincerely, and then you would have the name written for you, because in the back exam you are not allowed to write your name. So everything is clear in front of me. I have my plan with the 3 arrows, each having an idea, its explanation, and its example. I have my introduction, my conclusion. Now I need to link between these different ideas. The simplest and the most successful way of linking between ideas using first, second, finally. So to introduce the first idea of expressing gratitude, you can use first, and when you're done, second, and in your third idea, finally, you have changed my life for the better. Now that you've finished with your plan, you start writing your first draft. After linking between all these ideas and making short sentences, you need to review for mistakes, grammar, spelling, etc., etc. Now that we are talking about spelling and punctuation, etc., let me tell you that in the writing task, there are 3 points for content or adherence to content, which means you get 3 points for ideas. when your ideas are different, they are clear, and they are relevant to the topic. For language and vocabulary use, you get also 3 points. So please be careful when writing, use of tenses, etc. And you also get 2 points for mechanics. And by mechanics, I mean spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Please make your sentences short, end each sentence by a full stop. Start a new sentence with a capital letter. Mind your spelling. Don't write in French or Arabic. So that's with the writing today. My objective was to teach you how to deal with the topic and not give you ready-made answers. So please take notes of what I've said. That would be all for today's session. I am Bوناب, teacher of English. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again, study hard and goodbye.
بالتعاون مع المندوبية الجهوية للتربية بتطاوين، إذاعة تطاوين تقدم إذاعة الباكالوريا. إذاعة الباكالوريا اليوم مادة الأنقليزية مع الأستاذة بوناب.
إذاعة تطاوين تسمع منك تحكي عليك. نشرة الأخبار.